He seemed to be an amazing investor. He made big money year after year, double-digit returns. It sounded too good to be true, and it was. Financier Bernard Madoff now stands accused of running a $50 billion fraud and collecting some of the money from people like these who gathered today in New York City to vent.
Tonight, an extensive 2020 investigation takes you into Madoff country, the poshest spots like Palm Beach, Florida, where the rich thought they were getting richer. Chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross follows the man, the money, and the people who say they were fleeced.
In the history of con men, Madoff, I think, is the greatest.
In some ways, he's worse than a murderer.
He's a disgusting guy. He's probably a psycho.
He should be in jail.
But tonight, Bernard Madoff is not in jail, but at home in his multi-million-dollar Manhattan apartment, where we saw him in these exclusive 2020 videos, night after night doing who knows what on the internet in his designer-decorated den, to the outrage of victims faced with foreclosure, ruin, suicide.
Some of them already had to sell their homes while Mr. Madoff is comfortably ensconced in his.
The man who has confessed to conning investors out of $50 billion seems to have also conned Justice Department prosecutors into letting him stay here under luxurious house arrest, busy fluffing his pillows.
No one else has been arrested, and they haven't found any bank accounts overseas or large amounts of money. And so far, I'd say he's one up on justice.
And the list of victims continues to grow, from New York to Palm Beach to Hollywood. Some of the entertainment industry's biggest names are on Madoff's victims A-list, including screenwriter Eric Roth, up for an Oscar this weekend for Benjamin Button. Other multi-million-dollar Hollywood victims, director Steven Spielberg, executive Jeffrey Katzenberg, actor Kevin Bacon, who reportedly lost his life savings to Madoff. Like most of the other victims, Bacon does not want to talk about it.
How tough was the Bernie Madoff situation for you? Can you talk to us about that?
There you go.
Can I get a picture? What are your feelings for Mr. Madoff now?
Step back, please. Step back.
Even Zsa Zsa, the Paris Hilton of her day.
Darling, a girl can't make a success on instincts alone.
Zsa Zsa Gabor and her husband, Prince Frederick von Anhalt, had their entire $10 million savings with Madoff. And now they fear they may lose their Beverly Hills mansion and their Rolls-Royce lifestyle.
It's a disaster. For us, it's a disaster. You know, some people, like I heard about Spielberg and those people, naturally, they have hundreds of millions, you know, so if they lose 50 millions, so what? It's a write-off for them. But for us, 10 million, it's a lot.
Zsa Zsa is confined to a wheelchair and would not come downstairs while cameras were present. But the prince says she is furious with him because he handled the investments, and so he is furious with Madoff.
I want to squeeze him, the bastard, you know. I want him, you know. I want this bastard, you know. I'm not going to injure myself just because of him. I want him to go down, and I want to see him going down. That is going to satisfy me.
Madoff ran his scam from what's known in New York as the Lipstick Building on the 17th floor. This is where he took in billions of dollars, promising he had a secret strategy to earn steady returns even when the market was down. Every month, clients got fancy-looking monthly statements that made it appear their money was invested in blue-chip stocks. All a lie. There were no trades, no stocks. All the money has disappeared.
It was a great con. The best cons are when you keep the pigeons happy, right? And the pigeons were happy because they were getting good returns.
Suzanne Murphy is an investment analyst who studied Madoff's operation before recommending her clients not invest with him.
If it looks like a rat, it acts like a rat, and it smells like a rat, it's probably a rat.
Madoff and his brother Peter ran the company, described as a family business in the magazine Traders. His two sons were also executives. In his confession to the FBI in December, Madoff claimed he acted alone in pulling off the crime, that no one else was involved. And since then, there's been a mafia-like silence about it, says Wall Street Journal reporter Robert Frank.
What's surprising is that none of his underlings have turned. In other words, nobody who worked for Bernie Madoff had said, give me immunity and I will tell you what I know.
This is the 19th floor trading floor.
But now one former employee is coming forward, Nader Ibrahim, one of Madoff's office computer whizzes.
Over here is where the Madoffs sit.
Revealing new information about the inner workings of Madoff Securities. Ibrahim tells 2020 that by the time he left the firm 4 years ago, Madoff was already out of the office for months at a time, leaving the operation in the hands of his family, his brother and sons.
He was almost in a retirement mode where he was kind of leaving a lot of the work to his sons and to Peter. So Peter was really filling in that role of really being in charge of the company.
The question is, how did the complex scam carry on without Madoff as he traveled the world in one of his 2 private jets, with week-long trips to Mexico for catered parties on the beach, an apartment on the French Riviera, a yacht docked in the marina of the exclusive village Cap d'Antibes, and homes in the Hamptons outside New York City, and another one in Palm Beach. All the time he was away, the scam continued undetected.
Not a chance in the world he did it alone. There's too much paper, too many people involved, too many customers at the end that needed to be serviced.
And he now says he did it all by himself, and his sons turned him in.
What would you do if you were a father trying to protect your sons?
A lawyer for the sons flatly denies they had any role in the scam.
They may not have known exactly what he was doing, but they had to know that it didn't add up. If for nothing else, you say, Dad, there are no trades, we're not doing any trades.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Investigators are also focusing on the role of the people who got very rich steering customers to Madoff, the so-called feeders, including the man who lives in this mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, Walter Noel. Through his firm called Fairfield Greenwich, Noel and his partner steered some $7.5 billion to Madoff from wealthy investors.
They were also making hundreds of millions of dollars from the investments.
Fairfield Greenwich's website promised its clients it would conduct a rigorous review, due diligence, of Madoff and how he invested his money.
I think it's unlikely that they participated with Madoff for this long without some whiff of a prospect of scandal, conflict of interest, or other issue.
Investment advisor James Hedges says it took him no more than 20 minutes with Bernie Madoff to realize there was a serious problem, something he thinks Noel and the other feeders would have seen.
So they're either crooked or inept. That's what it really comes down to, what you're saying.
In my opinion, that's the case.
But Noel's high society friends seem to have been easily taken in. Spreads in glossy magazines like Town and Country, showing Noel's fabulous hilltop retreat on the Caribbean island of Mustique, helped confirm the image of glamour and wealth. That's where Noel is this week. His lawyer says Noel and his family are also victims, and that his firm, despite its best efforts, did not know that Madoff was scamming investors they sent to him.
It would be analogous to the pilot of a plane saying, "It's not my fault, I'm just a passenger." Well, you're not just a passenger. You have responsibilities.
And nowhere has the anger over that been more pronounced than this island of wealth and privilege, Palm Beach, where millionaires are now getting into fistfights.